Before we begin, let me share a little story about my relationship with mushrooms. And I will start with when I was a little girl. I was fascinated with mushrooms. I was fascinated with a lot of natural things in nature when I was a little girl. But particularly mushrooms, I found them to be from out of this world, to say the least. But this particular mushrooms, my sisters knew that, or they discovered that if they hit it or destroyed it, that it produced this powder. And they knew it would annoy me, and they did it in front of me, and I said, that's very disrespectful. However, every time that they hit it and the powder was released, we would laugh hilariously, belly hard laughing. Don't know why. And I got from that the mushrooms really didn't mind. In fact, they were laughing with us. So my sisters continued to do it every time they saw it. And even to this day, if we see one of those mushrooms, we will laugh. But my sisters had a question for me one day. It's like, where do you think these mushrooms come from if you don't think that they naturally grow and they grow so fast? I said, well, when there's thunder, the sky opens and the aliens come in, and some of them leave their droppings or their waste behind. And this waste is absorbed into the ground, and they bring up the information from the underground. All kinds of intelligent life, not life per se, but information that can make life more rich in nourishment and intelligence for anyone that consumes it to have. And they looked at me like, yeah, she's lost it. But not far from the truth, I feel, if it's not the truth, that, indeed mushrooms are from basically out of this world. And to this day, if there's a thunderstorm or thunder, especially during certain times of the year, summer, spring, if there's a thunderstorm, I go outside, I can smell, it's like, yeah, we have mushrooms. And one particular time I documented on Facebook, I went outside, I smelled it, gonna go for my walk, made sure I bring my camera, and I took pictures of at least 10 different types of mushrooms. And I could smell them. I could easily smell mushrooms. And anybody else, you smell mushrooms? No, we don't smell mushrooms. I smell mushrooms. I know what mushrooms smell like. And I do eat mushrooms, but not the wild mushrooms, even though some people do. But I thought it was very interesting to share my first experience with the mushroom. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the City of Healing, where the city resides within. This is Sanette Nature Angela. Hope that you all are having a beautiful Sunday. It's winter solstice. Happy winter solstice. This is Sanette Nature Angela. Wanted to come forth just to do a brief share about one of my most interesting topics, I feel, is about the psychedelics. And the topic is, could plants be more intelligent than humans? Just think about that for a minute. Plants really don't need anything from us except for the carbon dioxide that we breathe out, because we need the oxygen. And, mushrooms, they don't really need anything else from us either, except for, well, they breathe oxygen too, just like we humans. So they are very similar to us, about the same type of DNA. So that's something to think about as well. But we consume all of these plants, we eat them for information, for food, for nourishment, yet they don't really need anything from us when they're out in nature. They get their water, they get their nutrients from us. They don't really need anything from us. The mushrooms are so intelligent. We eat mushrooms. We get certain vitamins and nutrients from mushrooms. We get vitamin D from mushrooms. We get these medicines, these psychedelics, DMT, the psilocybin from mushrooms. Besides it being sort of a symbiotic relationship, but moreover, we need the plants more than they need us. As we know, mushrooms were here probably when the world was created. They've been here for billions and billions of years, probably almost as old as spirulina or algae or blue-green algae. And when I was thinking about it, I was sitting contemplating, plants, mushrooms, could they be the most intelligent life? Because they don't need anything from us, but we need everything from them. And we need their information. They give us medicine, they give us food, they give us medicine or information when we consume the psilocybin, the different other types of psychedelics that we consume. We need these plants, we need these mushrooms, yet they don't rely on us to give them anything. So could they really be the more intelligent life? Just something to think about. Like I said, I don't condone the use of illegal drugs, of course, but I find this topic so very interesting, and I will continue to get more and more information about it. It's like digging in a rabbit hole. The more you dig, the farther you go, and that's where I'm finding myself going. And I find this subject very interesting. Just think, maybe a year or two ago, I knew about it, but I didn't know about psychedelics, because this word psychedelic has such a negative connotation to it. When you think psychedelic, you kind of think negative, like mental, psychotic, psychosis. But in reality, what it means basically when it says a psychedelic is basically going inward into the mind, exploring and learning your mind. Basically, the mind on itself and observing itself is exactly what the psychedelic is meant to be. And maybe that's argumentative, instead of it being more of a hallucinogen and make you think you see or hear or feel that's not really there. But these plants, these mushrooms have information that we consume, and we get that information from them, from Mother Earth. They bring information from the underground, and we consume them. So that's also something that I was just basically thinking about and just pondering about. What do plants really, or mushrooms really, need from us, besides it being sort of a symbiotic relationship, and mushrooms being very much so similar to our DNA. And if you looked at it chemically, as they have brought forth for us to see, that DMT is very much so in the chemical structure look very similar to the same as serotonin. So what is it to that? What makes it so profoundly similar to enhance what we feel to be true, but they call it a hallucinogen, when in fact what a psychedelic is having the mind observe and learn about itself. So that's something I wanted to mention as well. But as I mentioned before, there's so much information out there, and so many people I didn't even know about to explore and learn more about this world of psychedelics. Where will I begin? Terrence McKenna, everybody knows him. Him and his brother, I believe his name is Danny. Forgive me if I said his name wrong. But Terrence McKenna has so many books, so much information that he dedicated his life to talking about the world of psychedelics that, many people thought he was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs about. And it's beautiful now. He has such a way with words that engulf you about this world of hallucinogenic and DMT and the magic mushroom. He talked about other psychedelics as well, but he really liked this world of mushrooms, and talking about the heroic dose of consuming mushrooms. I can go more and more about information about his studies and about his work, but if you Google it, if you look on YouTube, if you buy books, he's very well known. And also Joe Dispenza. I don't think he really talks about psychedelics as much, but he has a very excellent or genius way of learning and exploring the mind is profoundly integral that all people know about him, I believe. And who else? Kundalini Ai, an African American, who basically, I don't really think he does too many talks now. I don't know. But like I said, the further you go down the rabbit hole, the more information comes to you and the more people you'll get to meet and see. But Kalindi Ai, excellent speaker, African American that talks about the world of psychedelics and shrooms, specifically psilocybin, and about his experience with it, especially as an African American male, the benefits. If you look into it, you will find his work as well. Who else? Maria Sedina. She basically, I believe, they say, bought the world of the shrooms, the mushrooms, to the Western world, so to speak, and it taught us how to explore, especially in the 60s, about the magic mushrooms. And if you don't know about her as well, look her up. There's lots of information, books about her that you will find also. And then Albert Most, they say he was the first to smoke the bufo alvarius, the toad, that we get this DMT from their sebaceous glands. Not killing the toad, but basically, squeezing the DMT or the venom or the poison from there, and we smoke and have this profound psychedelic experience from. Let's see, Alan Watts. I don't believe he talks a lot about psychedelics, but exploring and learning the mind. He has an excellent way of expressing that as well. Who else? Graham Hancock, one of my favorite speakers. He talks about psychedelics as well. He's an excellent speaker, and he talks a lot about ancient Egypt. He's done a lot. He's lived in Egypt or Kemet, and he talks a lot about Egypt and the world of psychedelics, and he's profoundly one of my favorite speakers as well. Let's see, who else? Paul Stamets. Can't go without talking about mushrooms without mentioning Paul Stamets. He is an ingenious man that's done a profound, lots of work on the world of mushrooms and basically about, their benefits, not about the psychedelic mushrooms, but so many other types of mushrooms. He's the mushroom king. He basically starts his lectures off with he's not who we think he is. He is actually a fungi coming forth to speak. That's how much he is into mushrooms. So that's something to think about as well. Joe Rogan, who's a YouTuber that interviews a lot of people in the world of psychedelics. It's very interesting to watch his channel. I haven't watched his channel much, but I know he talks a lot about the psychedelic community. He talks a lot about psychedelics, and I know he's mentioned that he does psychedelics, so it's very interesting to watch his channel, even though I don't watch it that much, but I have watched a couple of shows before. But just mentioning some of those names out there, that I didn't know maybe 2-3 months ago, that the more I read about, the more I learn, the more I want to learn, learning and reading about and getting books from these type of people that have helped me explore more of the world of psychedelics. Not saying that I condone the use of drugs, but it's very interesting to study about. And as I mentioned before in my last channel, LSD was made in the lab in the 1930s, and there's lots of experiments that's been done about it. And if we're not careful with our natural forms of psychedelics. We eventually be taking the synthetic form and remaking it, the natural psychedelic, into labs. And they can do that if they're not already doing it. I shouldn't be surprised. But, a lot has been said about the harm. So I'll just mention some of the things I'll be extra cautious of when you are taking or decide to take a psychedelic. I would consider if you have heart problems, if you have any psychosis. A psychosis means like schizophrenia or bipolar or things of that nature. If you've had a heart attack, you've had heart surgery, I would be very cautious about taking any psychedelic. Also, if you're on any medication, especially heart medicine or any serotonin inhibitors or receptors, you should not take, a psychedelic with DMT in it, the psilocybin, the 5-MeO, because like I said before, those are very similar to the chemical form of serotonin that we naturally supposed to create ourselves. So you have to be really, really cautious, even though they do differently. Anyway, just to mention that, I just wanted to say, there's always some cautious, even with taking natural substances. I've seen, people taking natural substances have adverse reactions too. So just because it's natural don't mean you should take it and how you want to take it without any precautionary measures. Yes, there are, even more so because it's the real thing. So you have to be careful about that. So I just wanted to come forth, not making this video too long because it could be too long, but I wanted to come forth and just continue the conversation about psychedelics because it's so interesting. I won't be surprised if I'll be writing a paper about that. I won't be surprised if one day I explore to Peru to maybe try, Lady Ayahuasca one day and further explore, inside of me what needs to be healed furthermore, if so. Even talk to mushrooms to get the lessons that I need to have. And then, further guidance from 5-MeO to see whatever else I am supposed to explore and do. There's always a lesson in everything, but, these lessons from Mother Earth, when we consume them or we smoke them or we take them, have to be taken into serious considerations because it's nothing really to play with. When you go forth before your mother or your father or someone that you respect, you want to make sure you have a serious heart and a sincere heart and a serious mind when you're going to explore. And like I said, I don't do any type of drugs. I don't consume alcohol. I'm not on any medications. I don't smoke anything. And this is now just something that I am very much so interested in. And maybe, it is right now. It's just something that I'm interested in. But I believe that the greatest teacher is the experiencer. And Terrence McKenna, even though he consumed this medication, I believe he died at the age of 55. So in 2000, he had a brain tumor. Now, I'm not sure if maybe it wasn't related to that. I don't know. But it's something to consider. But these people have great, great contributions, all of them, to the world of psychedelics, And just to have us to understand that nature is alive, even though, like I mentioned before, some of these things that people say that they have witnessed taking psychedelics, I already intuitively know or felt these things before, that nature is alive, of course. In this world, we all are basically one thing, just having different individual experiences. And this whole world is really Africa, and we ourselves have really just separated ourselves. So that's basically it. without making this video too long, I'll be back to talk about more into the world of psychedelics and probably just breaking down and talking about each kind, because there is so much more, even though I just have this little bit, more people that I'll run into, more information I know that I'll run to, more mushrooms, more psychedelics, the acacia tree, not let me not mention that. I believe that's, besides the bufo toad, one of the strongest psychedelics. I don't know, but the acacia tree in Africa, that's a great psychedelic as well. I can go on and on and on. There's so much to learn. I'm so fascinated with it. I'm so fascinated with the mind. I always have been as a little girl anyway. But we'll see. It's very interested. I'll come forth again. Maybe just basically drop it down and just talk about the acacia tree and leave that to a video and just on and on and on. But there's much even more to learn. The more you dig, the more you go. And just remember that you are the rabbit. So anyway, that's it for now. It's getting late. I just wanted to come forth and do this brief share, even though it's not really brief anymore. But anyway, thanks for listening, if you're listening, and I hope that you all have a beautiful evening.